I'm Glenn McGinnis, and this is Outburst. On the program, how hopeful are you about the year ahead?
So I'm hopeful just in terms of life kind of getting back to normal.
Actually, I'm pretty hopeful.
I'm hoping it gets better because it's sure not looking very good right now. So
It depends what day you ask me.
But first, we're beginning to see even more COVID-related rules and restrictions fade away as mask mandates are being relaxed in different jurisdictions across the country. And Canadians are once again beginning to live their lives just like they did before the pandemic. With cases still occurring in this country, most people are fully or at least partially vaccinated, which could result in less people being worried about COVID. So, how about you? Our question.
How concerned are you about the pandemic these days?
Well, I'm definitely less concerned than I was, even a few months ago. It's definitely not over, but the vaccination rates are pretty high. I'm a little concerned that nobody's masking anymore, but I feel better about it than I did, 6 months ago.
Not very. I actually forget about it because I'm getting back into life again. So yeah, I guess I keep aware of what's going on, but it's not stopping me like before.
I'm not at all concerned anymore. I think they kind of have it under control, and if there are some issues, they can handle it.
My daughter lives in Hong Kong, and they're locked down for the 6th time, and things are looking grim there. Here, not so much, because I think the strain that we've got now is, I had it. I've had 4 shots, and I got it. I tested positive anyway. It was like 2 days of feeling crappy, and that was about it. So that's not high on my list of things to worry about.
I'm pretty concerned. I still wear my mask indoors. I haven't taken a COVID test in a while, but because of undeveloped countries, I don't think that it is proper to take the test unless you are showing symptoms. So we can take those tests and distribute them equally throughout the world.
I'm still concerned. Yeah. I'm not from Saskatoon. I'm surprised at how few people in Saskatoon wear masks.
I wear my mask. I carry hand sanitizer. And I got bear root and rat root in my backpack.
I think that I am respectful of COVID. I think that it has shown a lot of flaws in our system and in our society that were already there, but this has just really highlighted it. And so I think that it is something that we need to learn to live with and carry on in many other ways. But I think that it would be nice if we could address the underlying problems that this has really raised attention to.
Not really anymore. It's pretty much over in our area, so not too concerned.
Not as much as previously. So I feel a lot of people having had been vaccinated gives a lot of confidence to myself and the other people who are at risk. So that gives me confidence.
We're vaccinated 4 times, so we feel a bit safe. But that being said, it's still out there, and doctors are still concerned, so I think we should still be concerned about it.
I think we should be more concerned about it than we are, but as someone who's completely vaccinated as much as I can be, I'm not stressed out about it. But it concerns me that politicians are like, it's over, go live your lives, be normal. It's like, no, you guys still aren't doing your jobs. We still only have 2 hospital beds per 1,000 Canadians instead of 6. You have absolutely our politicians have learned nothing over the last 2 years, and that's upsetting.
Because of my age, I'm very concerned, and I've had my 4 shots. I might not wear my mask as much as what I should wear it, and I think this is going to be around for a long time. This isn't something that's going away anytime soon. It's something that's going to be here for quite a while.
less and less all the time, and I think some of that is apathy. Some of it is, I think it's because it's affecting us less and less personally as time goes on. So it drops off the forefront.
I'm mildly concerned about it. I have children that are not of the age to get a vaccine, so there's always that concern. I'm a believer in vaccinations and I'm fully vaccinated, so until my children can be fully vaccinated, it's still a concern.
I'm still concerned about it because you think it's gone. And I mean, I was just in that market and I had my mask on, and you eat and you take it off. And yeah, I'm still kind of nervous, but we've been fortunate so far to avoid it.
Well, I've been very careful because I'm high risk, so I wear a mask whenever I'm in stores and stuff like that. I'm from Alberta. So yes, I am concerned. I think I'll just stay very careful. And I spent a long time on my own without company in the house or having anybody over for a year and a half, pretty well.
I think that it's time that we move on with our lives. And that's what I think most people are trying to do.
Not too intensely. I feel like I've done the things, I've gotten the vaccinations. If I get it, it's not going to be bad. And it's more of that kind of thing. Am I going to have to miss work? Am I going to miss this event? That's really the only huge worry I have right now.
I'm not concerned about it at all. I've been vaccinated and boosted twice, and I'm not concerned about it at all. And as we all move forward, I just want to live life to the fullest and enjoy and not worry about anything.
Not very concerned. I think the worst is past, and I think that as a society we're starting to move on and starting to rebuild after the pandemic.
These days, probably not so much as a few years ago, just with all the efforts and things like vaccination, people trying to be more conscious. I'd probably say we're in a much better position now than we were at the beginning.
For many of us, the first year and a half of the pandemic was both emotionally and financially challenging, especially with higher prices and higher inflation. But things are opening up once again, and Canadians are starting to feel better about their day-to-day lives. So we sent our cameras out to ask Canadians if they have a good feeling about the immediate future. Our question:
how hopeful are you about the year ahead?
It depends what day you ask me. Some days I'm pretty hopeful. Other days I'm going, oh, we're in big trouble. We're a very divided society, financially, and I don't know. It scares me a little bit.
I'm always kind of hopeful, but the market hasn't been doing very well right now, the stock market, and my pension's tied up in the market. So I'm a little concerned about it now. But in general, what goes up has always gone, or what goes down has always gone up before. It's going to take a while this time, but it'll get back to there and we'll be fine.
Very. I'm hoping that maybe the government starts cutting some of their taxes and help us out a little bit. But other than that, no, I'm really hopeful for it. It sounds good for the next year.
Pretty hopeful. I'm a teacher, so it's already like in the schools. It's the restrictions are obviously nil at this point, but I feel like everybody still has in the back of their mind that it's still looming and more cautious, I feel like. So.
Pretty hopeful. I think the inflation is really the price of everything, food, gas, housing and everything is very difficult for a lot of people. I'm retired, so, I have a steady income from pensions, etc. But for younger people, our son, he's not going to be able to buy a house. So I'm concerned.
I'm optimistic. That's my nature. I feel like optimistic overall. I feel that the changes individuals and our society in general have made to really change their behaviors, wear masks when you need to. Although now there are not so many masks, but I feel that there's been a lot of changes on an individual level that has changed a lot of people on a bigger scale.
I think people are finding new normals. My big hope is that as we find beautiful things from the before times to reclaim, that we will also think about how we're going to make it new and different and not just rush for all the way it was before, because lots of things from before were no good.
Really hopeful. I think it's going to be great. I think it's already great. Like, it's already releasing a bit. I feel like people are outgoing. People are getting back to live life kind of normally, like for the most part. And yeah, I think years ahead are going to be great, like really releasing and free, yeah.
I'm pretty optimistic. I think Calgary's in good shape. We got, oil prices are strong and people are working. Vacancy rates are low. Seems like Calgary's in a good position.
Actually, I'm pretty hopeful. I keep active. Things seem to be going pretty good. Be nice if things weren't so expensive, but otherwise, yeah, pretty good.
We're opening things back up. We're traveling again, and it's. I hope we're moving forward, and it feels good.
Quite hopeful. It's good to see people out again. You know, not walking away from people. When you see people, you have to keep your distance. You know, I think as humans, we're supposed to connect, and that's a big part of life. So it's nice to see it again. So I'm very hopeful.
I'm very hopeful from the COVID perspective, not so hopeful from the market perspective in terms of the inflation and the war in Ukraine and other challenges that we face in the world. But from a perspective of getting back to life and getting out and enjoying life, I'm very hopeful.
Cost of living is crazy. It's really out of control. I don't know when it's going to change. I believe that once they charge more money, they don't come down in price. I don't really believe in the supply and demand theory.
I just see more happiness coming to our world, I guess. I'm very grateful that the world is going back to normal and people are starting to vision it as normal. So I think that's what we need.
Well, I think the COVID's a little bit under control. I don't know about the finances, whether that's going to screw things up for a year, but I don't know other than that. I'm just hopeful. It's got to change. It's got to go for the better.
Well, if the government will reduce all the COVID mandates that they keep sticking with, I'm hopeful. And if they start having energy flowing by having pipelines and things like that, that would make me hopeful. But under their current stand of things, I'm not real hopeful with this current federal government.
Very optimistic. The inflation cycle, I'm not sure if that's going to last the entire year. The war in Ukraine is a huge factor in that, so I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I'm optimistic. At my age, if you're still alive, you're optimistic.
I mean, it's tricky to be hopeful for many things, I think, but you kind of just have to keep hoping that things will get better.
Well, I think that we'll see probably some more progress on getting beyond coronavirus. I think we're starting to see some economic rebound. I mean, global affairs will tell a lot of that. So I'm hopeful just in terms of life kind of getting back to normal.
I'm hoping it gets better because it's sure not looking very good right now. So the way the markets are just going in the tank every day, it seems like, and the interest rates, the inflation, and just everything, all at once, gas prices. It's tough. It's tough for everybody.
Hopeful. Riders will win the Grey Cup. That's hope. Very hopeful.
How many Canadian Prime Ministers have served during Queen Elizabeth II's reign? 9, 12, or 21?
9.
9? I don't know. I'm thinking 9.
9.
9.
12.
21. Let's stick with 21.
12. 12.
12?
It's 12.
Is it?
It is. Elbow bump. You did great.
Thank you.
During the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, 12 Canadian Prime Ministers have held office. It begins with Louis Saint Laurent, who was Prime Minister at the time of Queen Elizabeth's coronation in 1953. He was followed by John Diefenbaker, Lester Pearson, Pierre Trudeau, Joe Clark, John Turner, Brian Mulroney, Kim Campbell, Jean Chrétien, Paul Martin, Stephen Harper, and Justin Trudeau. Queen Elizabeth II is also the longest reigning British monarch in history.
It was back in 1970 when the voting age in this country was lowered from 21 to 18, opening up a whole new wave of young voters eager to have their say when an election was called. But lately, there's been talk of lowering it again to 16. Some will argue that 16 is too young to vote, but it is the same age one needs to be when operating a motor vehicle. The Federal Green Party and NDP have also shown support about this in the past. So now it's over to you. Our question:
should the voting age be lowered to 16?
Personally, I don't think so. I didn't even start voting until I was past 18, just because I feel like it's not something that, at least at my age, I was passionate about or educated enough about. So I think honestly 18 is the perfect age right now.
At the age of 16, you're not that mature to take such decisions, right? You can like easily be like, intrigued by anyone. So yeah, it's not a great idea, I would say.
I don't think it should be lowered, actually. I think 18 is a good age. I think young adults at 18 have a little bit better idea of how to research and decide who to vote for.
I think that voting age should be commensurate with other aspects that we have going on, whether it be election, right to carry firearms, and as far as I know, that's not being lowered to 16. So based on that basis, I think we should be consistent, and I think that the answer is no.
I think it's going to be a good age because at 16 years old, it's going to be like to be more involved about politics and also people and communities. And yes, it's a good idea to be at 16 years old. But some people, they think it's more at 18. But in my opinion, 16 is good, yeah.
I'm not sure that I see the need to lower it. I think 18, which I assume is the voting age, is appropriate. I think there needs to be a better push at getting 18-year-olds out and 19-year-olds. I'm not sure if you lowered it to 16 without proactively trying to get more younger people out to vote that you would necessarily increase the number of people voting. I'm not sure 16-year-olds really, with all due respect, have a full appreciation of all the adult-themed things they're going to be voting on.
Yeah, I think that they should lower the voting age. I think that would be a really interesting thing to try. I would also really like to see people, or I would like to see us maybe doing kind of like what Australia, I think it's Australia who has a model where you have to vote, but you can go and you can say that you don't like anybody. I don't know how they enforce it. I feel like there's maybe something with taxes and how they enforce that. But that would be an interesting thing because I know a lot of people I've just heard, anecdotally don't vote because they just don't like any of the options.
I would say no. Still a transition period when you're that young. You're still learning the situation. And I think there's a lot to cover before you can have a really serious situation.
Absolutely not. I think that's, people have certain ages that they can do things for reasons. You're not allowed to sign a legal contract before the age of 18. You're entering a legal contract effectively with members of parliament. That should not be happening before 18.
Well, I can see some arguments for it, but I mean, personally, I don't think that it's a great idea because the youngest people are often the least engaged in it. So I don't know what you would be gaining by doing that. But I like the idea of getting young people in more involved. But yeah, I don't think lowering the voting age is the way to do it.
No, I do not. In fact, I think the voting age should actually be 21. I believe that you're not fully developed until the age of 21. So I believe that the voting age actually should be 21 instead of 16 or instead of 18.
No, I don't think so. I don't think teenagers are ready to vote. I don't think some might be, but I don't think that they're really paying any attention to politics.
In some cases, that's perhaps possible. I don't know that there's enough 16 or 17-year-old people that are that engaged that they would actually have an informed opinion. I think they would be voting for the sake of voting, and I wonder at that age if people haven't got the level of maturity so that in some cases they vote out of spite as opposed to because they want to make a difference.
I think the voting age should be lowered to 16 because teenagers are counted out and they have their opinions on things like that too.
I think young people are more interested and more informed than we give them credit for. I think there are a whole lot of adults who know very little who are allowed to vote. So if young people who are very much already a part of what's going on can also vote, I don't think we're worse off for it. I think we're probably better off for it.
I think there's pros and cons to it. I would say yes. I do think that as you're older, like 65 plus, like what you need from Canada is very different as opposed to like a younger person, what their needs are. So you're kind of swaying it to be more older on what you need, as opposed to like younger who might have different views on like climate change, housing, and all of that. So,
are they going to be moving the legal ages for everything else down to 16? Smoking, drinking, all of that? Like if it's legal for them to make their decision about voting at that young without actually knowing what they're doing, then they could be drinking, smoking like that, right? It's kind of the same thing.
I don't think that 16-year-olds have the intellectual maturity to understand the long-range future. They're still pretty focused on self.
No, I don't. Well, because we can't get the 18 and ups to vote, so why would we think the 16-year-olds would want to vote as well? And I don't think they'll be as informed. They're not interested, I don't believe, in my opinion. Could be wrong, and I could be proven wrong if they do change it, but I don't think that's going to I'm not in favor of that.
While Canada is a wealthy nation, in the aftermath of a pandemic and prices going up right across the board everywhere you look, people are having to live through even more hardships in their lives than ever before. We took to the streets to ask people what they think are the biggest obstacles we're facing in this country these days. Our question:
what are the biggest challenges facing Canadians today?
Biggest challenge, I think, is just the economy and just trying to make ends meet. I think that's the biggest challenge with most people nowadays. So
division of opinion. People, sort of COVID has been very divisive for people.
Probably just the change of everything, the change of economics and culture and just all that, the change of everything. Everything's changing so fast, technology. Everything's changing rapidly, and Canada's trying to be one of the leaders. And we're part of the G5, right? So we're trying to be the leaders, and it's got to be pretty hard to, change laws and infrastructure to keep up with the changing world.
Getting back to work. I just started my first day after not working for 2 years, and there's anxiety and all kinds of stuff going on. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, trying to shift from working from home to going out to the job site again and getting back into it.
Polarization. That's the biggest issue. We're turning to a lot of the U.S. form of government, and it's troubling. I think we can do better than that. I think Canada's a better country. I think we can do a lot better.
I'd say like grocery, gas prices, things like that. But unfortunately, if you're uneducated, getting an education is like the most important thing to be beating inflation. If you are going to school and you're doing good at your job, there shouldn't be any problems.
The pandemic and how that's going to unfold, whether there's going to be, additional variants, and, the economic situation. I come from a part of Canada where it's less affordable to buy housing than it is here. So I think the economy and our general welfare are the two things I'd pick.
I think the biggest challenge is the inflation right now, and all of the prices are going up, even not to mention the gas and the food, and that's what's really concerning, and it's just going to continue. And but it's most what my heart goes out to is people that makes less, and those are the ones that really struggles. That that just work from paycheck to paycheck, and we just got to do something to help.
Healthcare, definitely. I mean, it's. I'm from Ontario, and our healthcare is declining rapidly. Our hospitals can't get nurses.
The price of everything today, the way she's all going sky high, yeah. I guess you would call it the rate of inflation, yeah. And this bank rate, that's scaring the hell out of me, yeah. What's going to happen there, year or two? Wow, yeah. Keeps going the way it is, Canada's going to be in a mess.
Well, certainly the interest rate going up. Some of the people have never lived with interest rates that are more normal. The lowest our interest rate was for mortgages was 10, 10.5, 11, although it did go up in the 80s to really high. So I'm afraid that they've overextended themselves, and anybody relying on a low interest rate in the 2 to 7% range is going to have a difficulty.
As a young person, I find it incredibly hard now to get into the housing market when people are overpaying by like $50,000 on a house. Like, it's crazy.
The fact that we continue to do very little or nothing about climate change, the fact that we seem to be stuck between liberals and conservatives, the conservatives who say very little of worth, the liberals who say lots of stuff that sounds nice but don't do a whole lot, and until we actually get some genuine, authentic electoral reform, we're going to probably stay stuck in this trap between two parties who have lots of power but very little interest in actually governing.
It's to get back into into the groove of things, like back to so-called normal life, whatever that is. Like, that's what I want for my kids, my grandkids. I wanted to get back to how we were.
One of the challenges, we do have rising interest rates, and I think we have a lot of consumer debt, and so I think those are big challenges that will face individuals and families in the coming year.
You have to keep your doctors happy, your doctors and nurses, and give them what they need. There's certain parts of the country where there's not enough doctors. They don't feel appreciated, they're overworked. Nurses too, I used to be a nurse. So, and we're an aging society. I'm in the demographic that's aging, and I haven't had to use the healthcare system yet, but God willing, when I do need it, I hope that it's there for me.
I'd say mostly workers shortage. I think that's the thing that no one escapes. Like, every business has struggled with finding employees and workers, and I think that would be like the main concern on my perspective, yeah.
I can't speak for all ages, but at least my age group is just finding a passion and that allows you to live off of your passion, make a living. I think there's a lot of jobs out there and a lot of pressure to go to university, and it's just hard to find something that you truly love doing every day and making a living off of it. So,
income not matching what's got to go out, probably, with prices going up, food prices going up, rent going up, housing market going up, and income's not. And actually, from what I understand, the lack of jobs possibly, or acceptable jobs as well.
I think the biggest challenges facing Canadians today are basically inflation and the cost of living. It's one of those worldwide issues that I think all of us are facing, and between that and rising interest rates, I think the average Joe is challenged in terms of paying those bills and living the life that they hope that they can.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on CPAC. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. I'm Glenn McGuinness, and on behalf of my colleagues at the Cable Public Affairs Channel, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.